Like, people were giving me $100 tips because I was making them laugh. And, like, I was getting in trouble at work. But, like, people were reviewing the staff. And, like, everyone like, that Mitch kid's the best server we've ever had. But, because, like, these people are all, like, multimillionaires we're serving. So, like, for them to have, like, my trashy ass, like, giving them wine, like, being funny and cracking jokes, like, they absolutely loved it. And, like, but, like, my wine career was pretty short. So, they put me onto oyster shucking.
Hey everyone, don't forget to subscribe, like, share. Growing up, Westfield, Massachusetts, with 4 brothers, parents were working class, loving parents.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, my dad was tough on us, but like he kind of had to be though because we were idiots, you know. Yeah, like typical boys will be boys scenario, you know. Like,
so you got 4 brothers. You're the youngest of the 4. You're growing up. You know, at a certain point, your father's like, all right, military is probably the option. You face your first real adversity in life when you're told by the United States Army that you can't actually join in the capacity you thought you were going to join.
Yeah.
So at which point, this hits you hard. And so you take a moment to reflect and figure out what's next in your life. You end up communicating with the Army National Guard, which is a slightly different, how do I say this? They're slightly different in their capacity, what they can actually do.
Yeah.
And so they have a little bit more flexibility in certain scenarios than the traditional Army did.
Well, so like it was the jobs were kind of the job options were the same, but it was just more of like the jobs I could do.
Yeah.
It's just like I would figure might as well just do a part time, you know. Like I don't want to go be a desk jockey full time, but like, you know, at the end of the day, like you start looking at the benefits, the free college and everything else. At the end of the day too, I was like, it's really not a bad scenario though, because I go away for 4 or 5 months, then I get to come back home, and if I really want to go active duty, I could, but if not, like, so I kind of realized, like, it was actually a really good option, because, like, if I was really gung-ho and, like, wanted to do what I was doing full-time, I could, like, I had that option, but if I hated it, I wanted to do it 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year.
So you go to Iraq, you're doing medical evac, you're on the radios.
Yep.
So you get that experience in Iraq. What years were you there?
2010 to 2011. Yeah, so I graduated in 2009, and then I was like, I went to all my training. I came back, and like I thought I was like going to just enlist in college and like go to school. My first drill, they're like, hey, we're going to Iraq in September, and you're going. I was like no, they actually, it was funny. They asked me like, hey, would you be willing to go to Iraq in September? And I'm like, it's my first drill, so I'm like, yeah, sure. And the commander, he ended up being like a pretty like big person in my life. Like he was a really great dude. And he's like, oh, I'm glad you said yes. I'm like, oh, why is that? Like, I think like, oh, you want me to go? He's like, well, if you said no, we're going to force you to go. So this just makes a lot less paperwork. I was like, ah, damn. Like, I thought I was like, this kid looks really squared away, you know, like, but you know, my first drill, like, they couldn't tell I don't have a filter. You know, obviously all the listeners are going to be able to tell that pretty easily, but, you know, so my first drill, like I said some like outlandish things. Everyone's like, where the F did this kid come from? And like, it was funny though, because my base was 5 minutes from my childhood home. So like, they're like, where are you from? Like, they're like, you're like the strangest dude we ever met. I'm like, literally 5 minutes away from this base, dude. Like, you're in my turf. But it doesn't work like that with rank. Like, they're like, we don't care you're from Westfield. Like, I thought like it was like a turf thing for me, but it was not at all. Like, rank really kind of neutralized that and maybe gave me the bottom hand, you know? Like, it's like, I can beat you in wrestling, dude. Like, do I outrank you? Like, no, like, we're gonna, like, you'll go to jail for that. Like, so I went all through high school wrestling, and it's not even gonna help me out. Like, I thought if I was stronger than you could, like, put you in a chokehold, I would win and outrank you, but that was not the case. I learned pretty quickly, but yeah, no, so it's like, I agreed to go to, so technically I volunteered to go to Iraq. But, like, if I didn't volunteer, I was going to be voluntold. So, like I said, you know, I just saved a lot of paperwork by agreeing to go. Yeah. How heroic of me, you know, to volunteer to go fight a war, you know? Like, what a great guy I am.
So, how was your time in Iraq? What, I mean, was it?
It was, you know, I think the biggest thing, like, even, like, going to basic, like, I never really left my hometown. Like, I never really left. Like, I was very sheltered, I guess, in a sense. Like, I grew up, I went to the same schools all growing up. I went to the same elementary school, same middle school, same high school the whole time. I knew the same people my whole life. Like, I remember, like, when I first went to boot camp, like, I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky. After, like, I was so excited to go. And, like, I get there, and, like, I had never really traveled. So, like, one morning I wake up at 4 in the morning, and I'm looking around, like, I'm completely bald. I'm wearing the same thing as everyone else. I'm like, what the fuck just happened, dude? Like, what am I doing? I'm like, I have an absolute panic attack. I'm like, this is a dumb idea. But, like, it was just because, like, I just had no life experience. You know, that was my first real life experience. Like, I realized, like, you know, I'm not in Westfield. I'm not near my friends. I'm not near my family. And, like, it was such a culture shock to me. Because, you know, like, some kids, like, are more well-traveled. They went to, like, military academies, this and that. But, like, I lived a very in a kind of a small corner of the world, realistically, you know? Like, I mean, like, we went on vacations a lot as a kid, but it was my first time, like, my lifestyle was completely out of control in my hands. So, like I went to boot camp. I was like, holy crap. And, like, you know, but, you know, so it wasn't easy at first, but guess what? You don't have a choice. Like, and that's the thing too. It's like, you know, if I had a choice to go home after one day, I'm like, yep, see you guys. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm gonna work in a coal mine or something, dude. Like, well, not in Westfield, but like, I'll go work in a factory. I guess that's more realistic. But, you know, so I was forced to be there and stuff. And, you know, I didn't mind it though. At the end of the day, like, you know, and I'm a pretty, well, I mean, as you can tell, I'm a pretty goofy person. So, like, I made friends very easily there, you know, and like, eventually I made, like, a ton of friends and stuff. And, but, like, I think the funniest thing about boot camp was, like, we had our first overnight training, our first, like, field training exercise. And I'm, like, sitting there, like, this is going to be so much fun. I get to go camping. I get to go run missions. It's going to be so great. Well, some point during the day, I was bitten by a black widow, apparently. And I get deathly sick. And, like, and I'm just like, what the hell? Like my.
I'm not laughing at the fact that you got deathly sick.
You're not laughing at me. You're laughing with me. I got it. Yeah, real professional, pal. Well, so, like, I get, like, bit by a black. Like, I didn't know I got bit by a black widow, but I get deathly sick, and I'm, like, sitting there, like, they don't give it. They're like, hey guys, like, do you have your tents? We're like, yes, drill sergeant. Like, no, you don't. You're not getting them. Like, here's your sleeping mat. You're sleeping on the 4th floor tonight. So I'm, like, sitting there, and, like, so I grew up in a pretty outdoorsy family, like, you know, fishing, hunting, that whole 9 yards. Like, so, like, being in the woods has, like, always been, like, a really comforting thing to me. And I'm, like, sitting there in the woods in the middle of the night, and, like, you know, like, that venom attacks your nervous system. So, like, I didn't really know what anxiety was at that point, and I am scared shitless in the middle of the night. Like, I'm curled up in a ball, and my whole body's aching. I'm like, what's wrong with me? And, like, in the morning we do PT in the woods, and I start puking my brains out, and they're like, you didn't drink enough water. And, like, in my head, I'm like, dude, I drink so much water. So I'm doing push-ups, and, like, I think they think I'm puking to get out of the workout, which is bullcrap because I love working out. And the drill sergeant's like, keep doing push-ups. And I'm, like, just sitting there, like, panting, like big pile of puke in front of me. And this dude, like, I think military's a little bit softer now. This dude just grabs me by my collar and starts making me do push-ups. And, like, my head's, like, bouncing into the puke on the 4th floor. I'm, like, sitting there, I'm like, bro, this is not a good time. Like, what the hell? But, like, so they're like, you didn't drink enough water, you idiot. Like, I'm like, no, I drank enough water. Like, shut up. No, you didn't. So this is going on. They're just beating the crap out of me at this point. Yeah. And anyway, so, you know, I soldier on, as we call it. And the next day we get back. So, like, we march back, and, like, I'm fine. But I still feel like there's something seriously wrong with me. Like, it's just not normal. Like, it's not, like, I'm like, it just didn't make sense to me what was going on with me and stuff. I knew I wasn't dehydrated, and so the next day we do a PT test, and, like, I was like, there was, like, you know, probably like 100 of us, like, in our platoon, and, like, whenever we would run, I'd be top 3 every time. You know, like, I was like, I've always been a really good runner and stuff, and, like, I barely passed, and they're like they're screaming at me like, you didn't try this and that, blah blah blah, and, like, so we go back, and, like it hurt to run, dude. Like, I saw Black Widow that I'm going through me. Or it was a bladder recluse, we don't really know. And, like, my heart hurts to run, but, like, I push through and, like, I pass and stuff. And the next day I realized, like, this little pimple on my arm. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, who gets pimples on their arms? So by the end of the day, this pimple is now, like, pretty big. And I'm like, you know what? I've already caused enough crap in the past 24 hours. I'm going to keep it quiet. Well, the next day, the thing's the size of a ping pong ball and has veins growing up and down it. And like I show it to like one of the guys in my platoon. I'm like, hey, dude, like, does this look normal? He's like, dude, that's a black widow, but like, that's a brown recluse, but like this and that. I'm like, don't tell anyone. So we go through training for the day, and like it gets worse. And I'm still not willing to tell the drill sergeants what happened because I don't want them to think I'm being a wuss. Because I'm really smart, as you already know from listening to me talk. And so I finally like get up the courage. I'm like, you know what? I have to bring this up. Like my arm might fall off. So I go up. I'm like, drill sergeant, there's a problem. I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, there's this weird mark on my arm. I don't know what it is. So like, let's see your arm. So like, I take off my blast, like show him my arm. And like this guy, like this drill sergeant had the craziest look. He looked like a raptor, dude. Like he just always has this really intense look in his face. And he's like, you got bit by a spider. He's screaming at me. I'm like sitting there like, he's like, why didn't you tell us the second it happened? I was like, I didn't want you to call me a pussy, dude. And he's like, congratulations, you're just a fucking retard. And he's screaming at me. I'm like, I got bit by a spider, man. Like, what do you want me to do out of this? And they're like, well, you got to go to the hospital. I'm like, well, can I go in the morning? They're like, yeah, I guess. And like, luckily overnight, like it basically popped and stuff. And like, all right, time to go to the hospital. Like, I'm like, oh, can we go after PT? They're like, are you serious, dude? Because like, I just wanted to be in the middle of the group. I didn't want to be that guy at all. Which like, I didn't want to be the front. I didn't want to be the back. I just wanted to be in the middle of the pack and just kind of slither through the next 10 weeks. And they're like, oh, well, I mean, like, do you feel okay? I'm like, yeah. Like, so do you want to go to the hospital? You want to do PT? I was like, PT. And the drill sergeant's like, you're the dumbest kid I've ever met, but I like the spirit. Get in PT. I was like, yeah, let's go. And like, I felt so proud of myself. But like, looking back and I'm like, who is dumb enough to fight a spider bite and want to do push-ups instead? Like, but there I went. Like, so I think I gained respect, but they did find me very stupid at that point, which is more or less true, but that's neither here nor there, like that's not for them to judge. Dude, that's the problem. Like, I do, like, probably dumb shit, like, once every week. So, like, I have, like... Dude, we could be here for the next, like, 20 days. Like, me telling dumb shit I've done in my life.
Oh, my God. You are one of the funniest bastards I've ever met.
Yeah, tell Joe Rogan that. Don't tell me. Tell Joe Rogan. Like, get me on the Joe Rogan experience. Like, I don't know, dude. It's time I start cashing in on this God-given talent, I paid my dues.
I can't even, oh my God, you have me dying. So, all right, so you make it through boot camp. The story's all through getting through boot camp at this point. All right, so we told your story how you're actually in Iraq, and we're gonna fast forward. I'm gonna say we're gonna fast forward.
Good.
Fast forward
yeah.
past Iraq. You're back home. Now you're back in the States.
After Iraq,
Yep. So now you and your cousin decide to go down south.
Well, so they were like, I came back and I was 21 years old, and I had a massive bank account because, like, we come back from Iraq, so I did what any smart 21-year-old do at that point, and I partied a ton. And, like, that obviously was like, I think I had like 50,000 in my bank account at 21 years old, and like, so I turned 21 in Iraq. So I was like, I came home like, wait, I can go to bars and spend money? Like, this is sick. I blew through that $50K pretty damn quick and have nothing to show for it except for like a stomach ulcer. So, like, and that's the thing. Like, so I came back from Iraq, and the first thing I did was went to school, and I was like, so I went to community college. And I played college soccer for a season, and like that was the funnest thing in the world though, because like I got kicked off the team my senior year of high school, and like the coach hated me from the get go because I'm a bit of a hothead. I'm a really friendly, nicest guy, but if you put a scoreboard in front of me, I'm a prick. Like I'm like one of those people, like when I'm competitive, like I become a completely different person. So, like I kind of like didn't really have like closure for my high school career because like I got kicked off the year before my senior year started. So I went and played a year at community college, at Holy Community College. And it was the funnest year of my life, like everyone on the team looked up to me because like, all these kids are fresh 18, like I was 21. So they were like, I kind of had this like leadership position, like this really, it was almost like a mentor position, a bad mentor, but a mentor nonetheless. Cause like, I was older and like, you're older and you have a Mustang GT. You're so cool. I'm like, yeah, I am. But like it was just like it was so fun to play soccer again with my buddies and stuff. So I did that for a year, and then obviously I didn't study at all. Like I got crap grades and stuff, and I went through the spring semester. I'm like, I'm not playing. Like there's no soccer in the spring. I'm like, school sucks. Like I'm done with this, dude. So in the summer, I kind of realized that. So I started landscaping, and like my grades weren't good enough for me to play soccer for a second year. So I started like my cousins were working for a landscaping company, so they got me a job doing that. And like at first, like it was cool because like I was with like two of my cousins. Like so, one cool thing about like growing up too is I had four cousins who were four boys too, and all of us like our ages basically intertwined. Like we were all equal with each other. So me and a couple of my cousins, we were working a landscaping job, and like you just work in the sun all day, break your back, get out of work, go get drunk till like 2 a.m, go back to landscape at 7 a.m, and that was really fun for like 3 months. But then like it was like at one point like it was midway through August, and we're like working on this beautiful house, and like I realized like I'm not going back to school. I'm like, what am I doing? Like I have not like I was like, this is rock bottom, I think. So we had one of my cousins from the same family that I was working with two of my youngest cousins, and their brother lived in South Carolina, and he came back for like the 4th of July, and he's like, dude, move down to South Carolina. It's awesome. So like, you know what? I'm going to move to South Carolina. Like a drunken idea, because all the best ideas are after a couple of beers. I think I drank like half a handle of Jim Beam that night. And it's kind of funny. Like usually people have these crazy drunk ideas. They're crazy drunk ideas. Me though, I'm like, oh hell yeah, brother, let's roll with this one. So I talked to my cousin. I'm like, hey dude, like let's go live with Andy. Like, let's go move down to South Carolina with your brother. You can get us jobs, like get set, and like because my cousin was talking about it for years but never pulled the trigger. But me when I get excited about something, man, I go all for it. So I'm like, you know what? We're gonna go to South Carolina in September. He's like, really? I'm like, yes. I call my cousin name. Like, hey, me and my cousin's mad, but we call him Pookie because he used to puke a lot. Instead of calling him Pukey, we called him Pookie because it's less gnarly, It's like an easy transition. So we literally like look at a calendar one day. I'm like, I think it was like September like 16th or September, like some days. I'm like, you know what, dude? We put in our 2 weeks. This day we're driving down to South Carolina, and like I had a Mustang GT, so it was tiny. And me and him, like our idea is like, well, we'll just pack as much stuff as we can, and we'll drive down to South Carolina and sleep on a couch in an apartment and get a job at this 5-star resort called the Palmetto Bluff. And because he's like, if you guys move down here, we can get you a job, no problem. So we, lo and behold, me and him, like, we're sitting around, obviously, like, drinking or getting stoned one night, and we're like, let's go down to South Carolina. So we picked the date, and everyone, all our friends, like, a lot of, like, my friends, like, they never really left the hometown, so, like, yeah, you guys aren't going. I was like, oh, really? So lo and behold, we do it, and, like, I never driven my car more than 3 hours. I think the first road trip I ever driven was the Cape Cod. 16 hours, let's go. So me and him, like, we were like gonna like sleep till like 2 a.m, then leave at 2 a.m. It's like 9 at night. I'm like, you know what, screw it, let's just drive right now. And my cousin didn't know how to drive standard, and it was a standard because it's a Mustang. I'm like, oh, I'll teach you how to drive it. But I'm like, my cousin, I love him to death, but not the brightest guy in the world. So I'm like, I'm just gonna drive the whole way. So we go down to South Carolina, and it was awesome. Like, so I go from living in Massachusetts to we lived in the Hilton Head area. So, like, we're right next to the beach, and, like, it was just, like, we go down there and we look around, we're like, we see all the palm trees, the beach is, like, 20 minutes away, and we're like, is this real life? Like, so we get the job, like, working at a 5-star resort, and we're banquet servers, and, like, so this is, like, a 5-star fancy banquet for, like, rich people, and we go there, and, like, I am not a 5-star resort type person, which, like, so, like, they would give us these wine lists, and like, so I show up, like, I'm wearing a bow. I put on my uniform, like, wearing like a white shirt and a bow tie and an apron. I'm like, I feel like a fruitcake, dude. This is awful. But anyways, so like we're sitting there at work one day, and they're like, all right, Mitch, you're on wines tonight. I'm like, what do you know about wine? I'm like, get you drunk, right, dude? Like, hell yeah, like, let's do this. So like, I'm just like sitting there, and like they give us this wine list, and like they like talk with the acidity and the taste and what it pairs well with. I look at this, I'm like, it's booze, dude. Like, I'm throwing the list away. I'm not doing that crap. So I'm like standing there with a tray, like, looking all proper and stuff. And people are like coming up, like, what kind of wines do you have? I'm like, well, we have a white and a red. Like, what can you tell us about? I'm like, one is white, one is red, and they will get you very drunk. And I was like doing this like fake rich accent. dude, people loved it. Like these rich like fancy types thought it was hilarious. So like people were giving me $100 tips because I was making them laugh, and like I was getting in trouble at work because I was an idiot. But like people were reviewing the staff and like everyone like, that Mitch kid's the best server we've ever had. But because like these people are all like multimillionaires we're serving. So like for them to have like my trashy ass like giving them wine, like being funny and cracking jokes, like they absolutely loved it. And like, but like my wine career was pretty short, so they put me onto oyster shucking. So like, dude, so like this place is gorgeous, dude. Like we're right on the ocean, and I'll just sit on a fire, put oysters on a fire, like on a damp towel, cover the towel, and then like gets hot if you pull them off, like you basically steam cook them, and like I would just sit there and shuck oysters, and the same thing, like people come up like, oh like, and it was just great though, because like I would just like say like the most outlandish shit to people, and like these people are like people who went to Harvard and stuff. They're like, who is this guy? And I would just like serve them their oysters, but dude, like just $100 tips constantly, and you were supposed to share your tips. No, you don't get rich off of my comedy, dude. They give me the tips like tip jars over there, psych, and just right in the back pocket. And like, but it was great. But like, also like, so like after like 2 months, I was like, this sucks, dude. Like, I don't like serving rich people. Like, this is awful. Like, I feel like a tool basically. So we had another kid from our hometown who was down there. He was a fireman. He was like, dude, become a firefighter. I'm like, well, don't you have to be smart for that? He's like, nope. I was like, hell yeah. So, so I applied to this fire department called Hardyville. I probably should say the name because they're not going to claim me at this point. But so I literally go and like I just walk into the station and sign up and like, all right, testing's next week. So there's like this part of South Carolina isn't really the smartest place in the world, and like that's the thing about Massachusetts. Like our education system is very well. So like even me being the dumb kid in Massachusetts, I was like middle of the pack in South Carolina. So like I was like, oh, I'm gonna shine here, dude. So we take the testing. And there's like 30 of us testing for 5 slots. After we did the written test, there were 6 of us left. And after the physical, or like it was like there out of like 20-something people, only 6 of us were left. We're going for 5 slots. So I'm like, oh, I got this in the bag. But the thing is like, there's definitely that nepotism to a sense there. Like, like are they going to hire the local boy who's cousins with someone, or are they going to hire this like random idiot from Massachusetts who's I don't really play the game. I'm just usually my like loud, cocky, arrogant self. So there's 5 slots, 6 of us going for them. I'm like, oh, I got this in the bag. I'm number 6. Like, so I actually pack up my stuff, drive back to Massachusetts, and I'm like, I'll just figure it out. Go back to Mass and figure it out because they didn't pick me. And then it was January 2nd. It was the day after New Year's Eve, and like it was like 9:30 at night. And like so when I came back, I just felt like a failure. Like it wasn't a good feeling. So like I'm back, like me and my buddies are like all getting like hammered at like some college apartment, and like we're like I'm drinking Jim Beam at this point, which is never a good idea. And I get a call from South Carolina at like 9:30 at night, and it's like, hey, this is Chief so and so. He's like, hey, someone dropped out. We want to hire you. Like, are you interested? I'm like, yeah, I'm interested. Like, all right, can you be back here by Monday? This is Saturday night, like 10 at night. Like, can you be back here Monday? I'm like, I moved back to Massachusetts. So like, listen, the academy starts on Friday. Like, can you do Wednesday? I'm like, I'll figure it out one way or another. So, like, I moved back from South Carolina and then moved back, like, 3 days later, basically. And, like, I got back down there and, like, got into the South Carolina Fire Academy. And, like, it was just kind of funny, though, like, how that all worked out. Like, I was in the Fire Academy and it was just, like, the best thing in the world. Like, I remember, like, getting that phone call and just being so elated. I'm like, yeah, they picked right. But, yeah, so I got back down there and, I got into firefighting, man. Like, it was just, it was incredible.
Hey everyone, don't forget to subscribe, like, share.